All right. So, Darren Taylor, welcome to the Disenfranchised. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. Well, I'm very happy to have you here with me today for this episode, and I'm going to get straight into it, actually, I think, and just ask you your first job.
Electrician, believe it or not, apprentice electrician.
Okay, excellent. On residential or on court?
No, it was quite a big company in the local town, so it was all of residential, commercial, offices, factories, all sorts of things, hospitals.
Fantastic. And was that something that you always wanted to do from a young age, or through education, or?
Not really. I think it's sort of, you get to that age at 16, you think leave school or do A levels, and it was leave school and get a job, and that was one of the ones that was available. So I sort of fell into it. But that was it really. But I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. It was a good grounding, and always a good. My dad always said, "Oh, you can fall back on a trade," and he was probably right. Not that I've had to yet, but
that's always good. It is one of those things that a lot of people do tell you to do, but it's not always that easy to get into that kind of work, I found.
No.
I ended up going down the route of just being a labourer ultimately, which is fun, but didn't kind of lead me to anywhere I wanted to go. So
it doesn't lead to much, does it? No.
Yeah, but so how long were you an electrician for?
Well, I did my apprenticeship, which was 3 years, and then I very quickly got into sort of a electrical technical sales type role, selling sort of CCTV and alarm systems and that sort of thing. So we when I was an electrician, we'd fit camera systems and alarm systems. In those 20-ish 5 years ago, they were quite new, the camera systems and the alarms. And the fire alarm. So that I fell into a sort of a sales role quite quickly after qualifying, because I wasn't really fond of crawling around in people's lofts, which was what that role meant, I'm afraid. Sales was where I could see myself, being quite salesy. I was always quite good at talking to people. So I quickly fell into a sales role.
Yeah, it's still it's kind of a different, it's a completely different role, isn't it? It's gone from kind of technical to more kind of soft skills, though, isn't it? So
that's it, and it's understanding, what you're selling, which is, especially in that role, is very important, because you got to understand. You can't just say, "Oh, we're going to put a camera there," and actually, well, how do you get the cable there to make that camera work? It's that. Then that was what helped me get through the sales bit, because I knew technically what had to happen.
I was going to say, you just leave it to the electrician, don't you? Let them worry about that.
No, because they phone you up and say, "What? Why? What here? How am I going to get wires there?"
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I've recruited quite a lot of technical salespeople over the years, and get it completely. It's really helpful if you've got that base understanding to be able to kind of piece together the package for the client, right? It makes a lot of sense. So, from there, then I take it you went on to have a lifelong career in sales and enjoyed it completely.
Well, yeah, no, I did. Yeah, I was in that sort of sales role then for a good 14 years, I think. And we had some good contracts with Portsmouth University and that sort of thing. So, it was relationship sales rather than, double glazing sales, as I call it. So, and that was good. And that at that stage, I always wanted to be self-employed. I was always ambition to being self-employed. And my missus had a small gardening business. She's like qualified with all the Latin names and all that sort of thing. And I was looking at a way of how do I expand that into getting me a role within that business. Was it a way of acquiring a business and getting me a job within that business? And with that search, I came across a franchise called Stump Busters.
Okay.
So that at that stage, I against all my family's better, I was on a good salary, a good sales job and all that. And I said, no, I'm going to give it all up and buy a stump grinding machine. And there was a lot of raised eyebrows, should we say?
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's quite a brave thing to do, obviously, to kind of leave a decent salary and go and be self-employed. So what was driving you to do that?
Blind ambition. No, I've always had the vision that I was going to be self-employed. I mean, sales, when you're on a commission basis in sales, that's the closest you can be to being self-employed or performance related pay, as I like to call it, without actually running your own business. And, when you're younger and you've got, you don't want all the responsibility of running your own business, I think that's the closest you can get to it. And I managed to build up the means to be able to support myself for, 6 to 12 months on the understanding that I'd need to get out there. But I think in any business, you need to have that if you're the only person doing it, you need to be able to sell. And that I knew I could do that. So that's what gave me the confidence to do it, because I knew I could go out there and persuade people to do business with me, even if it was just digging out stumps from their front garden.
Yeah. It's a service at the end of the day that people need. They can't do it themselves. They need to get somebody else on board. So they want it done in the right way, though. And I guess that's part of the sales role, is to help them understand how you do it, and that it's in safe hands, right?
Exactly.
So what age were you when you bought the franchise license?
29. It's quite young. Well, at that point in time, I was a young franchisee in most of that world, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And how did you come across, franchising?
I knew nothing about franchising at all, and it was just I was on that search for buying maybe a landscaping business which could bolt on to the wife's business to create me a job, and it was just a Google search, literally. And it was like, and I'd helped her at the weekends on a few projects she'd done, and I'd had to literally dig out stumps with a pickaxe, a mattock. And it's like, and then you think, well, hang on a minute, that looks like that. A lot of people would need that. And that's the only reason I did it. And I did nothing about franchising. And in fact, Stump Busters is not your traditional type franchise. It's more of a license, fixed fee type franchise rather than a percentage. So you're not, the head office weren't getting so involved in the business. It was go out there and do it yourself sort of thing. It's in franchising world, your fees were very cheap compared to most, but the support was less than most as well. And I preferred that. I wanted to be out there on my own. So it was a good model for me. Not that I knew anything about the different models in franchising at the time, but looking back on it, it suited me at the time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So what were kind of like your day-to-day duties then? Was it literally just you going out there digging up stumps? Or, I guess there's some accounting to do and things like this, but...
So we were back in then, me and my wife were literally stuffing envelopes every night, talking to every tree surgeon, landscaper and that, because they were, obviously most people in their domestic garden may need one or two stumps in their lifetime removing. You need to be with the relationship customers where tree surgeons, and tree surgeons don't see it as they see it as a bit of, they see it as monkey work really. And the machines are unreliable, especially if you've got tree surgeons operating them. They like to be, in the trees doing the prima donna stuff and swinging around with big muscles and that sort of thing. And they see stump grinding as a bit of a, if they feel like they're being punished if they're sent out stump grinding and getting the machinery to site. They've got big machinery they've got to take, the chippers and all that. It's just another level that your medium-sized tree surgery company didn't need. So if you could persuade them to use you and they understand that actually it's well worthwhile getting a contractor in for that particular job, then it that really did work well.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's almost like a business introducer, I guess you'd call them, wouldn't you? Where they've got the clients and it's just subcontracting out to you, which makes a lot of sense. So, so what support were you receiving at that time then from the franchisor?
Well, the brand was very, very strong. Again, it's a light touch support. They were there if you needed them, but they wouldn't interfere. And I quite like that. And looking back on it, now I know the different types of franchising. It is horses for courses. Some guys, need to be pushed and need that support and backup. Some guys would rather you just stay out of it and let them get on with it. And I was very much of let me get on with it. I wanted to do that. So that's why it suited me, really.
Yeah. Of course. Okay, cool. So,
but the brand was strong. The tree world knows about Stump Busters, and even more so now. Where I think it's nearly 30 years old. The brand. So the tree surgery industry know that the brand, and they would generally that would be one of the calls if they're going to use stuff. You're going to use a brand, and we're all over the Google. But actual business support, looking at profit and loss for them, that doesn't happen in Stump Busters.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. So what year did you buy the Stump Busters franchise or the license? Sorry.
2006.
2006. And then
it was my year. That was my first, when I took the plunge, September 2006.
Fantastic. And clearly looking at your background and in my research, it was successful for you. You made it work to the point where you then decided to take over the whole franchise. So what kind of happened there?
Well, before then, there's a bit. So we took on 4 different territories of Stump Busters when the older guys came up for sale. We took on 4 different territories, and I had a go. I approached the franchisor about 3 years before I actually did the deal and said, "Oh, would you be interested in selling out?" And they actually come back, "Yeah." So yeah, we would. And then the deal fell apart for one reason or another. I won't bore you with the details. But then I got a call in 3 years' time saying, "Actually, we want to revisit this." And so 2013, November 2013, we actually got the deal over the line with a bit of help from RBS, which they took pity on me and managed to lend me the money. And so it was a big step forward, big leap forward. In fact, the biggest, I think, out of all of them. That was the big one, from one man band to still managing. Well, I say one man band. I've got 3 employees to having 35 franchisees and still 3 or 4 employees. It's quite it's a big step forward. That was.
Yeah, definitely. So to me, that sounds like extra headache, right? a bigger headache to manage all of those things, and took you off the tools a bit, I guess.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I had to employ another member of staff to cover any practical work I was doing. And I sat in the office. I still took the calls, took the bookings for my franchisee to myself effectively, but I didn't do any work at all. It literally put me to the desk because there's parts and stuff to organise. So I literally had a bookkeeper and myself, and that was how we ran head office like that.
Okay. So why do that? Why kind of change that lifestyle that you had where, perhaps you're out and about in the fresh air and making yourself desk bound in the long run?
Yeah. Again, blind ambition, I think.
There's a theme here, right?
Yeah. And it carries on, believe me.
Fantastic. So Stump Busters, obviously you've been building that out then. So what year was that you took over?
So November 13, we took over the franchisor Stump Busters UK Limited. At that point, there was 28 franchisees, including 4 of them, obviously, with myself. Franchised areas. Some people have more than one area, sure. And we quite quickly grew that out to 35 franchised areas, and that's almost at capacity. That's 90% in the UK. The areas that you get in Stump Busters are quite large compared to some franchises. They have to be for the business, but they are.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair enough. So where did your ambition take you next then? So if you've got blind ambition, I'm guessing that
on with. That was enough to be going on with, it took me. So what I thought next was, we're getting to almost capacity in the UK. Can we franchise internationally? So we're members of the BFA, so I approached them, and we were. There was a free, or maybe a cheap, 1-day course on how you may wish to franchise internationally, and it totally changed my view. I was thinking, well, would it be America, because obviously the language is the same? And they actually said no. If America's a different world in franchising. It's very Wild West. They're all about the upfront fees and not the royalties and the ongoing fees. And also it's very costly and litigious over there. So they said Holland is the best place to go, or Benelux region, if you will. And I was like, okay. But what about the language barrier? They said, actually, and it's true that your man in the street speaks pretty good English in Holland, and your educated guys are fluent. So we did find a sort of agent broker, if you will, over there. But it was hard, expensive. 3 years to actually get. We did get one in the end, but it was hard and expensive, and the bills kept coming in from the broker, and that he wasn't cheap. And we get to people, and I was backwards and forwards to Holland every quarter, meeting people, doing demonstrations, and we'd get them almost to the line, and they'd say no at the last minute. And it was just hard going, and it really was. Like I say, we got there in the end, and we got someone in. I reckon 5 years after starting the process, we've probably just about broken even. But, it's good. It's an experience, and I bumped my head, and I know what to do next time and what not to do next time. And I would do it again, don't get me wrong, but I would do it in a very different way. And I think I've spoken to my broker over there now, and if we were to do it again, we would do it on a success fee rather than a blank check fee. Yeah. Where system of doing it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, no, that was next. But we did do that. And then we were looking, I was then like, right, this is too hard, I'm not doing this again. And then we were looking at maybe other brands in the UK. And that was when we started on the acquisitions trail that we're still on now.
Yeah. Okay.
Wilkins Chimney Sweep was our first one, which was very good. That worked out very well. We're running it well. We got that from 14 to 28 franchisees in 3 years. So that's not bad going.
Yeah, definitely.
And that business is, in fact, that's the rising star of all of them. The Wilkins one is the one, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like an industry from the outside to the uneducated like me that, it's not required that much anymore. But when I sort of looked at the business and started to think about it, and actually I saw Wilkins before I knew about yourself and tailor-made franchising, I kind of realized actually there's a lot of places when you kind of look around, a lot of stately homes and that kind of thing that do have chimneys that are still active. And
there's old townhouses. I mean, a guy's just taken it on in Scotland, and he is doing, in his first months, he's been doing amazingly well. Like never known someone the first year doing so well. There's really a lot of business out there for it at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I guess that do you incorporate the kind of the smaller log fires now as part of that? Because there's
everything. Yeah. I mean, we've little wood burners and all that. They're very popular these days. Yeah, and some other stuff. These new pellet boilers that are the pellet burners that heat people's homes and all that. They all have to be maintained on big farms and all that, where they have massive burning systems on there for like waste wood and that. They all have to be maintained.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and so obviously Wilkins is one of those brands. I'm just going to quickly reel off the other ones just to make sure that I haven't missed any. But Iconic Window Cleaning, Thomas Cleaning, PVC Vendo as well, as well as Wilkins and Stump Busters. So it's quite a few to kind of manage and look after. So. Are you following a kind of theme, I guess, in terms of the brands that you're looking to buy? And then my second follow-up question is how are you managing them all as well, time-wise?
I've got good staff involved now. I don't deal with the businesses on a day-to-day level. They've got senior management to look after all of them, and then individual managers within the business that all seem to be doing quite well. So yeah, no, I don't. I very much, if it comes on my desk, it's normally a problem, a big problem. But generally, I'm out there looking for new companies. I mean, I've done an acquisition, not that we can discuss it just yet, but only in the last couple of days, that fits quite well with the commercial vehicle cleaning business. So, that's what I do now. I just look for the acquisitions. The man and the van model is what we know, but we're not limiting ourselves to that. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I was looking through the brands as well beforehand. So they're all very well established, looking at Wilkins, that's 1895.
Yeah.
Vendo, 1981.
I don't think it was a franchise
then. Sorry, what was that, Darren?
I don't think it was a franchise then.
Yeah, possibly not, no. But yeah, I mean, they're well-established brands that you're bringing under this one umbrella. And yeah, man in the van. But I guess the next thing that comes to mind for me then is, are franchisees buying two of these brands and kind of bringing them together, or what's kind of the plan for franchisees that are joining these brands?
Well, we've got one guy that's got in three different brands now. He's in Wilkins, he's in PVC Vendo, and he's in Iconic Window. So he's got three brands.
Okay. That's interesting.
And there's a few others as well. I mean, so the acquisition we just done, that's going to fit in well. And we're actually going to offer a special deal to the PVC Vendo franchisees because it would fit in so well with what they do. They could almost do it at the same time when they're with a customer. So that really that's quite exciting. And we do for existing franchisees, we do help them out. We don't expect them to pay all the franchise fee up front. Sometimes we do a deferred option because they're known, trusted trader sort of thing, and we know what we're getting into.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting,
and that's worked quite well, to be fair.
Yeah, I can see that, and I actually, when I speak to some people that are in the looking to buy a franchise, so it's more in the consulting world, right? But they already have a consultancy, and they just want to sort of tag on an additional service, and I think that makes a lot of sense because you're maximizing one client, right? So if you do have, like you say, maybe a university for Stump Busters, and you can tag on something additional to that, like perhaps if they had chimneys to sweep, then it makes a lot of sense, right? Probably not explained it very well, but I think see what I mean.
What does help is when you get an inquiry for a Wilkins or a Stump Busters. That's a good example. Because if we get an inquiry for a Stump Busters, we haven't got many territories to sell, but often if the guy's looking for the man and van type business, they can often see themselves sweeping chimneys or maybe cleaning lorries or whatever else they might do. So that does definitely, there is some advantages there of cross branding for sure.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. So I want to go back to kind of Stump Busters for a minute, just because I want to understand if being in the business helped you to be able to manage the business effectively, and how was that change in mindset for you?
Yeah, no, that definitely was from both sides. So from the bank's point of view, they liked the fact that I'd been in the business and understood what it was like to be a franchisee of that business. Because, I don't mind sharing. We borrowed, 250 grand. And that was, at the time, that was a lot of money for me. That was a big risk, personal guarantees, all that sort of thing. Although we did use the enterprise finance guarantee scheme, which you didn't mean to put your house on the line for that, which worked quite well. That was basically the precursor to all the COVID loans. That's the model they used, I believe, where the government back you up, because they want, entrepreneurs to grow, but they also, if they've got a family in a house and they don't want to see the kids on the street if it all goes wrong, they give you that guarantee from the government. So that worked quite well. But I think RBS did, well, I went to Barclays and RBS, and Barclays were like, nope. And RBS were like, yeah, okay, we can do this. We can work with this. And they did like the fact I'd been in the business for 7 or 8 years at the time and understood it. That was a big win for me. You had to have squeaky clean credit and all that sort of thing, which I did, but they still, they want to see the person and what's the likelihood of him being able to make it work. And I was received quite well within the network because a lot of the guys have been, especially now, I think one's just signed for his 6th term of 5 years.
Wow.
So he's been a franchisee for, I think he was a franchisee. I was still at school, and I was a bit concerned about how I'd be received going from poacher gamekeeper, but all of them have received it really well, and there was no problem with it. And they respected the fact that I'd been in the trenches and I hadn't just come in over the top and, with a bag of cash and bought the business. And so it went very smoothly. Almost it led me into a false sense of security in how easy it was to buy a business. And the second one was easy, but the third one wasn't quite as easy as it could have been. So I was sort of almost too confident at one stage, and I needed to take a knock to remind myself that it's not always as straightforward as the first 2 acquisitions were, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's interesting because there's some real similarities in your earlier career where you did the technical side first and then went on to sell using that knowledge. In Stump Busters, same thing. You've gone out there, acquired the knowledge, and then built on it from there. And it's quite interesting to see that happening, and quite inspiring. That whatever you're doing nowadays can turn into something bigger if you want to, if you've got that ambition. So
I think there's a bit of more of respect if you've done the graft and you understand the business rather than just coming in as a manager and just think you're going to take it on and not actually understand what it's like to be on the ground, sort of thing. Yeah,
definitely. So how have you found then the journey from being employee, franchisee to franchisor to now? I'm not sure what to call you, but I guess kind of
no, don't.
leader of many brands.
Yeah. No, it's because it's been a slow sort of steady progress. It's not been one big bang. It's it's just been steady, generally quite steady. I mean, obviously there's some years there's more acquisitions than others, and sometimes you're busy with it and sometimes you're not. But it's been a steady growth, so you don't really notice it. It's not like it's been in your face all at once. It's been a steady sort of growth, fast, but nothing too mind blowing. And it's just at this stage now, it's just about having good people. Cleverer people than me, that's for sure. Doing running the businesses for me.
Yeah, excellent. Well, look, I got a few questions that I want to ask you that are kind of standard ones I ask everybody, and the first one is just any fun, interesting, strange, or weird stories that you may have had throughout your career.
Weird stories. I know. When I was first in stump grinding, I didn't really understand the dangers of hitting a wasp's nest in a stump.
Oh, okay.
that was pretty frightening. And literally, I got chased across. We were working in Chichester in it was really prestigious site. It was to do with the big cathedral down there or something or other. And literally, it took ages to get the work done because of all the conservation people and all that sort of thing. And then I hit this stump, and it was almost like a cartoon, and the bees were like literally around my head attacking me, and I was running across this field. But I had to go to hospital because I got stung so many times.
Did you find some water and jump into that like the cartoons, or how did you get rid of them?
No, but yeah, it was pretty bad. The health and safety people on site were going crazy, and oh my god, we got to call an ambulance. I was stung, I don't know, 20 times or whatever, but it was that was pretty frightening at the time. And you got a bright orange helmet on, which attracts the bees. Apparently, I don't.
That didn't help.
That was. I won't forget that in a hurry. That's for sure.
I think you never know what's underneath the ground, do you? Actually, and it reminds me of something that happened when I was working for the marquee company. So, we've got these big, long spikes that go into the ground that are, over a meter long, probably meter 4 foot, something like this. And we was at Dover Castle, and we've asked them for the plans, and they've said, yeah, it's all good to go. We've started hitting this pin into the ground, and all of a sudden the floor started to shake and rumble. And we was like, that's weird. What was that? Hit it again. That was definitely it, wasn't it? And hit it again with another person coming over to take a look, and rumbled again. So in the end, we thought we'd better stop. And then we told the groundsman at Dover Castle, what had happened. They dug it up, and basically it was a massive core power cable that we'd hit into, and the whole thing had fused and melted. Yeah, it basically took the power out to the whole castle. So, all these tourists going around, we completely wiped it out. But yeah, bit of advice for anybody who's going to go and dig holes in grounds.
You got to watch what you're doing for sure.
Watch out for wasps and power cables. Yeah. Brilliant. So the next thing I wanted to find out from you is what's been perhaps your proudest moment or most inspirational moment?
I think I alluded to it before. I think the massive leap forward, although we've done some big acquisitions since, the massive leap from being, one-man band running a few staff to running a franchise with 25 blokes in it and the other businesses as well. That was a massive leap forward. I mean, the others have been big steps, but that just felt like the biggest from one level to another in business for sure. That was definitely the biggest leap forward, I think.
What was the biggest change for you?
Or back to the desk again, I think, back to set and managing a lot more people. And the more people, you manage, everyone's got their funny ways, haven't they? And their difficulties, and you're managing emotions and all that sort of thing. And they get stressed and upset. And I find it difficult to manage. People are hard to manage, I think.
Yeah. But I guess you've got that team around you now that helps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But would you ever go back to being on the tools or doing something that's more hands-on?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind doing that. And I mean, a lot of the guys we took on in Stumpbusters, they tend to be second career guys anyway. So and I look at them, and some of them maybe have sold their business at 50. There was one guy that always sticks in my mind. He was very big computer IT business. Not quite sure what he did, but he sold it for a big chunk of money. Would never have to work again, sort of chunk of money. And he actually got bored, and he's like, I don't want the stress of running a business like that anymore. But I do want to do something. And he's been one of the best franchisees because he can't help himself but get out there and do more business. And even on a small scale, he wants to see it grow. And, how did I do against last year? And, all that sort of stuff. So it's quite interesting. And I thought, well, I wonder if I ever sold out everything, would I be able to go and back on the tools and do something like, maybe probably not stump grinding, but something you like that sort of thing,
Yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I have to admit, I miss the kind of manual labour side of things. Just being outside is quite nice, right?
Yeah,
when you're stuck to the desk, it's not quite the same. So I get that completely. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then my final question is just for anybody who's thinking about buying a franchise license, whatever the brand may be, what would be the one piece of advice that you'd give to them?
I would look at the age of the network. I would look at ask if you can talk to anyone, not just the ones they give you. Can I talk to any of your franchisees? Or if they're just giving you 3 amazing ones, just be a little bit careful with that.
Yeah.
I think I would suggest if they're BFA affiliated, approved, that normally gives you a level of security that that they've been run well. It doesn't guarantee anything, and everyone's got they make their own way as franchise, and it's your own business. You've got to make it work. But if BFA are fairly rigorous in their approval, so if you've got to a full member or a provisional member, even they've had to jump through quite a few hoops to get there. So that should give a level of reassurance.
I guess it shortcuts some of that research you might need to do yourself as well, doesn't it? And find.
But there's no guarantees. I mean, you still got to make it pay, and in all networks there'll be the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the failures, and that's in any network. So don't ever believe that everyone's perfect. And in any whatever a sales person tells you, there's you need to still dig your heels in and get on, and work hard to get your own business in for sure.
Yeah, there's no guarantees, right, in life or in business. So, well, there were a couple, but we won't go into those.
Death and taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, all right. Awesome, Darren. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you sharing your story and your advice with us. And yeah, have a good day.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Cheers.